Forgiveness is freedom. Episode 3. The Hardest Forgiveness. Learning to Forgive Yourself. The Divine Frequency. Written by Dr. James Ojjeh. Welcome back to The Divine Frequency and to the third episode of our series, Forgiveness is Freedom. In Episode 1, we named the invisible weight of unforgiveness. In Episode 2, we went inside the body and discovered that resentment is not just a feeling, but a biological event, one that hijacks your nervous system, suppresses your immune system, and can even become a chemical addiction your cells crave without your awareness. Today, we face the hardest forgiveness of all. Not the forgiveness of someone who wronged you, not the forgiveness of a parent, a partner, or a stranger who caused you pain. Those are difficult, but they are not the hardest. The hardest forgiveness is the one you direct toward yourself, because the voice inside your own mind, the one that replays your mistakes, the one that whispers you should have known better, the one that holds you accountable for every decision you made with less awareness than you carry today. That voice is often crueler than any person who ever hurt you, and it never leaves the room. This episode is for everyone who has ever looked in the mirror and struggled to meet their own eyes with kindness, for everyone who has punished themselves for staying too long, trusting too easily, or not seeing what now seems so clear, for everyone who carries a weight of guilt that has become so familiar it feels like a permanent part of who they are. It is not. And today, we begin to set it down. There is a courtroom inside your mind, where you are both the accused and the judge. The evidence is always the same. The verdict is always guilty. And the sentence never ends, because you keep reopening the case, retrying the crime, reliving the moment. You wish you could undo. But what if the trial was never fair? What if the judge never once heard the defense? What if the version of you, who made that choice, was doing the very best they could, with the understanding they had? At the time? What if the only thing standing between you and your freedom is the forgiveness you have never given yourself? The weight of self-blame. Many people who listen to a series about forgiveness assume the conversation is about forgiving someone else, a partner who betrayed them, a parent who withheld love, a friend who abandoned them in their darkest hour. And those wounds are real. They deserve every bit of attention we have given them. But in my experience, both as a healthcare provider and as a man who has walked his own path of healing, the heaviest stone most people carry is not the one someone else placed in their hands. It is the one they picked up themselves. Self-blame is one of the most common and most destructive emotional patterns a human being can carry. And it is almost always invisible to the person who carries it, because it disguises itself as responsibility, as maturity, as accountability, as the mark of someone who takes their life seriously. But there is a vast difference between accountability and self-punishment. Accountability says, I see what happened, I take responsibility for my part, and I choose to grow from it. Self-punishment says, I see what happened, and I will never stop paying for it. Accountability is a doorway. Self-punishment is a cage. And many people do not realize they have been living in that cage for years, sometimes decades, because the culture around them has never taught them the difference. We are taught to hold ourselves to high standards. We are taught that mistakes have consequences. We are taught that good people feel bad when they do something wrong. And all of that is true, to a point. But when guilt becomes a permanent residence rather than a temporary visitor, it stops serving growth. It becomes a toxin. And like every toxin, it damages the body, the mind, and the spirit from the inside out. What you are really punishing yourself for. If you carry self-blame, I want to ask you something, not to challenge you, but to help you see what may be hidden beneath the surface. What exactly are you punishing yourself for? For many people, the answer sounds like this: I should have left sooner. I should have known better. I should not have trusted them. I should have protected my children. I should have spoken up. I should not have said those words. I should have been stronger. I should have seen it coming. And beneath all of those statements is one single belief. I had the awareness then that I have now. And because I did not act on it, I am guilty. But that belief is a lie. You did not have the awareness then that you have now. That is precisely the point. The version of you who made that decision was operating with a different set of tools, a different level of understanding, a different nervous system state, and often a different level of emotional capacity than the version of you who now looks back in judgment. You cannot convict your past self using evidence your present self only recently discovered. That is not accountability. That is cruelty. The fact that you now see things differently is not evidence of failure. It is evidence of growth. It means the awareness you needed has arrived. It means the person you are today has evolved beyond the person who made those choices. And the distance between those two versions of you is not a measure of your guilt. It is a measure of how far you have come. The biology of guilt. Here is something most people do not consider. Guilt, when it becomes chronic, activates the same stress pathways we explored in episode 2. When you replay a mistake in your mind, when you revisit a moment of regret, when the inner critic delivers its verdict again and again, your brain does not distinguish between the original event and the memory. It fires the same neural circuits. It releases the same cortisol. It triggers the same inflammatory response. The body enters the same low-grade emergency state, as if the failure were happening right now, in real time. But here is what makes self-directed guilt even more damaging than resentment toward others. When you resent someone else, there is at least an external target. The anger is directed outward. When you blame yourself, the target is internal. The stress response is aimed at your own body, your own cells, your own heart. Research in the field of self-compassion, led by Dr. Kristen Neff and others, has demonstrated that chronic self-criticism is associated with elevated cortisol, increased inflammatory markers, suppressed immune function, and higher rates of anxiety and depression. The body responds to self-attack the same way it responds to an external threat, because as far as the nervous system is concerned, there is no difference. A threat is a threat. And when the threat lives inside you, there is no escape. This is why guilt feels so inescapable. It is not just a thought, it is a chemical environment. And like the resentment loop we explored in the last episode, the body can become addicted to its own self-punishment. The cells adapt to the cortisol. They expect it. They crave the familiar chemistry of shame. And the brain, ever obedient to the body's demands, generates more of the same thoughts to feed the cycle. You are not stuck because you are weak. You are stuck because a biological loop has formed that your conscious mind alone cannot break. And the key to breaking it is not more self-discipline. It is self-compassion, the mirror beneath all other mirrors. Before any relationship with another person can truly heal, one relationship must be addressed first, the one you have with yourself. This is the mirror beneath all other mirrors. Every relationship in your life reflects something about your inner world. The people you attract, the dynamics you tolerate, the patterns you repeat. They are all expressions of your deepest assumptions about love, safety, and worth. And if your deepest assumption is that you are not worthy of forgiveness, that you must continue paying for what you have done, then that belief will echo through every relationship you enter. You will tolerate treatment you do not deserve because some part of you believes you deserve punishment. You will push away love because some part of you believes you have not earned it. You will sabotage your own happiness because some part of you has decided that people like you do not get to be happy. This is not a conscious decision. It is a subconscious program, and it runs silently, shaping your life from the inside until you bring it into the light and choose something different. No amount of achievement can fill a void that was created by the absence of unconditional self-acceptance. And no amount of love from another person can compensate for the love you have not yet learned to give yourself. Self-forgiveness is not a luxury. It is not a reward for people who have earned it. It is a necessity. It is the foundation upon which every other form of healing is built. And without it, the work we do in this series, all the releasing, all the honoring, all the cord cutting, will remain incomplete, because you will still be carrying the heaviest stone of all, the one with your own name written on it, the practice of self-forgiveness. So, how do you begin? How do you forgive yourself when the inner judge has been ruling your courtroom for years? You begin the same way we began this entire series, with awareness, with honesty, with the willingness to see what has been hiding in plain sight. The first step is to name what you are carrying. Not in vague terms, specifically. What is the guilt? What is the regret? What is the moment you keep revisiting? Say it. Write it. Speak it aloud if you can. Because what stays hidden keeps its power. And what is brought into the light begins to lose its grip. The second step is to separate accountability from punishment. Ask yourself, have I learned from this? Have I grown? Would I make the same choice today? If the answer is no, then the lesson has already been received. The growth has already occurred. And continuing to punish yourself is not honoring the lesson. It is refusing to graduate from it. The third step is the hardest and the most important. It is to speak to yourself with the same compassion you would offer a dear friend. If someone you loved came to you and said, "I made a mistake years ago and I cannot stop punishing myself for it," you would not say, "Good. You deserve to suffer." You would hold them. You would tell them that everyone makes mistakes, that they did the best they could, that the pain they feel is proof that they care, not proof that they are broken. You would offer them kindness. You would offer them grace. You would tell them that they are allowed to set the stone down. Now offer that same grace to yourself. Place your hand on your heart and say, gently and with as much sincerity as you can find, "I forgive myself for what I did not know. I honor myself for what I know now. I release the judgment I have carried, and I choose compassion in its place. I am not defined by my worst moment. I am defined by my willingness to grow beyond it." Say it again if you need to. Say it every morning. Say it every time the inner judge reopens the case, not because the words are magic, but because every time you choose compassion over condemnation, you weaken the old neural pathway and strengthen a new one. You interrupt the chemical loop. You signal to your body that the punishment is over. And you create the internal safety your nervous system has been waiting for. This is not the work of a single day. Self-forgiveness, like all forgiveness, is a practice, a choice you make again and again. But every time you make it, the weight gets a little lighter, the grip loosens a little more, and the version of you who has been waiting on the other side of guilt begins to emerge, not as someone new, but as someone who was always there, buried beneath the weight of a verdict that was never fair. You have spent years as your own harshest critic. years rehearsing the evidence, years delivering the same verdict. But the trial was never fair. The defense was never heard. And the judge never once asked the most important question: what would compassion say? Compassion would say, you were doing the best you could. You were carrying more than anyone knew. And the fact that you feel this deeply is not proof of your guilt. It is proof of your goodness. So today, let the gavel rest. Let the courtroom go silent. And let the version of you, who has been sitting in that chair, waiting for mercy, finally hear the words they have needed for so long. You are forgiven, not by the world, not by the one you wronged, but by you, and that is the only verdict. That was ever yours to give. If this episode reached a place inside you that has been waiting to be touched, please share it with someone who carries the same weight. And subscribe to stay connected as we continue this journey together. In our next episode, we explore the sacred art of honoring the past before letting it go. Because true release does not begin with force. It begins with gratitude, with dignity, with the quiet acknowledgement that everything you have lived, even the most painful chapters, has been part of your becoming. And only when the past is honored can it truly be set free. Until then, place your hand on your heart. Breathe, and remind yourself, I did the best I could with what I had, and I am still becoming. Stay rooted in your truth. Stay in your light, and stay with us as we continue to awaken, to heal, and to live fully in the divine frequency.